Hello friends, Lightsider here, bringing you a comprehensive guide to tanking Illidan as the main tank in the Shear tank TBC Classic. So far this has probably been the most fun fight, the fight that I've had the most fun on tanking, and so hopefully this guide can help you secure a kill if you haven't already secured yours, or help you tank it on an ult, or anything otherwise. So first, I'll be going into gear, talents, consumes that you can use, the mechanics of the fight that you need to be aware of as the main tank or Shear tank, and then I will be showing you a real-time kill video from week 2. So going into the gear first, the biggest thing that you need to worry about as the Shear tank and the main tank on Illidan is Shear, which if it hits you, it's a 1.5 second cast. And if the ability hits you, it will reduce your health by 60%, which, with how hard Illidan chunks, will most likely result in your death if you're unable to cancel aura, bubble it off. But given that you'll have forbearance from wings for most of phase 1 and all of phase 3, basically it's not safe to get sheared, and you want to avoid it at all costs. So in order to do that, it works a bit differently from your normal crush cap. You need to have 101.8% avoidance, not counting your mischance. So this set that I used on the week 1 kill of Illidan made use of, you can see I have 11.46% avoidance over the crush cap, which after you subtract the boss mischance there, 9.64, I have 1.82% over what I needed for this set. But with the combination of items that I'm using, I had a hard time getting it just at the cap to make sure that Shear didn't hit me. So going into the items, I was fortunate enough to get the tier 6 helmet, which was an upgrade over what I was going to use on this fight. But you just want to use something. You can use the goggles from phase 2. You want something that's stamina rich here. Stamina is just a really important stat on Illidan. His melee hits hit for an absolute like an absolute truck, so you want to just make sure that you have a very nice health pool. In this set, before Warlock Imp buff, I was at 18.4k HP, and that's before the Warlock and before Nightmare Seed usage. And then I just have the Darkener's Grasp from Kelthus, just a very avoidance-rich neck. I don't have 4-piece tier 6 yet, so I'm making sure to keep my 2-piece of Justicar for the Seal of Righteousness threat increase. I'm using Phoenix Wing Cloak, just pretty standard items, Justicar chest guard, and I've regemmed for all stam here. I have Wrist Guards of Determination, just nice armor piece and rich in stamina. I've been unlucky with weapons, so I'm still running the Bloodmaw Magus Blade as of week 1. And I still have it, actually. And then I was also unlucky with shields, so you could use Aldori Legacy Defender here. I use the PvP shield, but it doesn't really matter. If you're having issues with avoidance, reaching your avoidance here, you can have the shield block rating enchant here, but I elect to have the stamina because I don't have issues with that. Royal Gauntlets of the Silver Moon are just a very armor and stamina dense item. So I have my 12 stamina gems in there. And then you're pretty safe to put the 15 stamina gems in this item, as I can't think of anything that's going to beat this for your effective HP set. Girdle of Invulnerable, just a nice piece, again, that you can armor rich, stamina rich, so you can put stamina gems in. And it doesn't have block rating. On Illidan, block rating is going to be your worst stat that you have, just because he hits like a monster, like 10k, 12k melee sometimes. And when you block, it's only going to be reducing those for 200 or whatever. You don't really have much high, you don't have high block value in this set, just because you're going for pure stamina and other avoidance. And then I was lucky enough to get Praetorian's leggings. So with this, my My health was actually higher on this kill. I don't know why I had the shitty gems in this. So what is that? Yeah, 18.5k before imp. Torian leg guards. Very good item. I was lucky enough to get our first and get them week 1 before Illidan. And then, as you can see, I have a defensive enchant here and a defensive enchant on these legs, just because this is going to be in your effective HP set, so you don't really want to run the spell power here. It's worth getting the agi and the stamina for these legs. Because threat, when you're wearing those, threat isn't going to be really something that you're going for. And then I have Boots of the Resilient here. So again, those are rich armor piece with the stamina sockets. And Ring of Sundered Souls, just a really good item. A lot of stamina, a lot of avoidance on it. The ring that I would not recommend using on this fight is 7th Ring of the Tears Fallen. I had some problems with the gear that I was using getting the avoidance that I needed. And like I talked about, I'm 1.82% over the avoidance, and this ring is pretty much the reason for that. As I previously said, you want to avoid block rating on this fight as much as possible and go for dodge and parry. Just with the set that I was using and what I was looking at, I needed to use this ring. But ideally, you could use something like the exalted ring from the Violet Eye, or if you don't have that for some reason, or prefer Band of Eternity, like the Honored or Revered one. In case you don't know, the exalted one isn't worth using, as this armor proc would remove your Scroll of Protection 5 that you would most likely want to be using on Illidan. So it's not really worth using. I don't have this ring because I went for the spell power one off the bat. I'm not exalted yet, so I can't get both through the item restore tricks, or if the quest is just giving extra stuff right now. And so moving on from ring to trinkets, there's a lot of different combinations you can go for here. I elected to use Moreau's Lucky Pocket Watch, both for the opener in phase 1, but also it's very it's a good item to have for the enrage in phase 5. So I just use it kind of off the bat, as the pull is kind of an eye opener for the healers, and I like to let them get adjusted. I take a lot of damage as Illidan goes active, so having this active for that can kind of allow the healers to ease into the fight and make sure that you don't die. And then you could use another avoidance trinket, such as, I don't have the Shadowman Insignia yet, but you could use this as well. Scarab of Displacement. And you could also use the PvP Battlemaster trinket, Battlemaster Insignia with the spell damage on it. I don't have that yet as of this video. But the reason why I elected to use the Stamina trinket, and why I'll most likely use Darkmoon Vengeance after this Monday or Sunday, whenever the Darkmoon Fair goes active, I just like having the stamina for most of the fight, just to ease those larger hits. But also, now with the nerf for the bug fix that killed chickens and fixed the Illidan enrage, the delay it in phase 3, or sorry, in phase 5, I like just having stamina, as the enrage is pretty much a joke now. It goes active so late into the phase that bringing a trinket solely for the enrage, I don't like. I'd rather have the higher stamina throughout the fight. And then for Libram, I'm using the block rating Libram from badges, but when you get the block value one and enough gear to kind of have your avoidance without this, or have your sheer avoidance that you require without use of this Libram, I would go that path. But in my current gear, I'm not there. So I also don't have the block value Libram. So that pretty much covers the gearing. Going into talents, again, you're wearing survivability gear on this fight and a lot of avoidance gear. So unbuffed, I'm at 405 spell damage, which is not a lot, especially with Chad Pumper DPS. I haven't had any threat problems, but you really want to go for a standard 40-21 here to make sure that you have Sanctity Aura, or you could go something else if somehow in your group you're being provided a Sanctity Aura. I'm not being provided one, so I need to bring my own. But this is pretty much a standard thing. You could trade the shield specialization points for reckoning, but I use shield specialization. I just like to have that for Hydual and all the massive AoE pulls in Black Temple. I mitigate quite a bit of damage with my block value set using that talent, so that's why I have that. But if you don't feel the need to have that for the trash, then you could go reckoning for potentially some more threat. Don't know how much of an issue parry haste is on Illidan, if any. But if you're dipping low, you can always cancel Aura Reckoning. And then moving into consumes that you want to use on Illidan. I recommend having an Armor Scroll of Protection 5 active at all times, like I alluded to earlier. So you want to avoid having the Armor Ring. The Armor Ring from Hydual Rep, as that will cancel that. You want to have Nightmare Seeds if you dip low in Phase 1, but ideally you have a Nightmare Seed cooldown ready for the Enrage in Phase 5, just to increase your health pool. The other thing you could do, not much of a consume, but when the Enrage goes active, you can have someone in your raid or do it yourself, have a Holy Paladin swapped into your group with Improved Devotion Aura, and then have that active just for that gain. And then I use Stam food on this fight instead of Spell Power food. And you just want to have for me, I prefer to have an Iron Shield active the entire fight, Iron Shield Potion active the entire fight, so I don't Destruction Potion for threat in Phase 1 or in Phase 3 for the threat wipe. I just prefer to have that armor the entire time. And I think that's pretty much it for consumables. I use a flask on this. I don't use I use a flask of Blinding Light just for the threat, because you're pretty gimped in this set. But you could use survivability consumes if you're having issues, or like an elixir of agility if you need that extra dodge to meet your sheer avoidance or something like that. But I've elected to not use things like that. Then very briefly, I'm going to be going over the mechanics of the fight that you need to know as the tank. So we've already discussed Shear, but Shear is a 1.5 second cast that happens periodically throughout the fight. And as a prop paladin, your biggest thing is you just want to make sure that you have fully shield up for any shear that's going to happen. And if you do get sheared, you want to let your healers know that that's happened. Bubble it off if you don't have forbearance, cancel Aura Bubble. Otherwise, if you don't have those options, you're most likely going to die, but obviously bears have tanked this fight, so you could survive. You could survive a shear, but the best thing, and there's no need to ever get sheared, is a prop paladin. That's why prop paladins tank this fight. Otherwise, everyone would just use warrior. So just keep your holy shield up. And then whenever you're tanking Illidan, the biggest thing that you want to do is never face him towards the raid. Draw Soul will heal Illidan for around 50k per person hit after health reduction effects or debuffs, like Moral Strike. So you always want to have him facing away. And then you can see in the video right now, there's blue fire on the ground. That's Flame Crash, which is also another 1.5 second cast time ability. And you just sidestep to the right or left when it's cast on you. And that's pretty much what you need to deal with in Phase 1. There's also parasitic Shadow Fiends that spawn. You could just see them spawn right there. One person will get marked with that. In my raid group, they run to the middle and they get killed. As the main tank, you can get selected with that, and you just want to tell the melee to back up until they're dead when you're about to pop. I'm not going to be going over Phase 2, but Phase 2 is Flames of Azzinoth. This video is more concerned with the main tank and the shear guide, so I'm not going to be talking much about Phase 2. But as a prop paladin, if you're in the Shadow Priest group in your raid group, you can just go full Mongo here, just do your DPS, whatever you can contribute. If for whatever reason you're cut off by flames, you can see the I-beam flame, the blue flame to the left. If you're cut off by that, and you can't help on the first or the second one, you can just sit there and flash of light, which I believe is what I did on our first kill, which is what this is. And then when the second Flame of Azzinoth dies, you're going to be going into Phase 3. Phase 3 is the same thing as Phase 1. I believe there's a threat drop. You can see I get MD'd. He's collecting his Glaives of Azeroth that our rogues don't have yet. He's about to go active. So you can see the threat drop there, but I established my lead. And phase 3 is the same as phase 1, nearly identical. The thing that you want to worry about here as the tank is, again, you're facing him away, you're keeping Holy Shield up so you don't get sheared. And if your guild does not skip phase 4, does not skip the demon phase through having high DPS, you want to bring him further out than where I have him right now. But my guild skips the demon phase with high DPS, so that's not a concern for me. I don't bring him out further than where I need to. Just sidestep flame crashes in this phase, have your DPS be aware of the threat drop, get your MDs, and you'll be good to go. Then after phase 3, you'd either go into phase 4 with the demon phase, which it happens at 30%, the transition into phase 5. So you can see this timer here, demon form in 2 seconds, but we beat the DPS check and we get the RP, and skip phase 4 and we go directly into phase 5. If phase 4 were to occur, you would basically be going where Star is right now, or further than that. You can't do anything as a prop paladin other than maybe exorcism the demon on cooldown. But you want to be spread out from other people during phase 4, and you want to just avoid the AoE damage, the shadow bolts and whatnot that happens there, the cleave damage. So you let your warlock tank it over here on the left. That would basically be it. But since we skipped phase 4, that's all I'm going to be covering. I don't have footage of phase 4. I haven't seen it, really, because we've elected to just burn. Phase 5 begins with this RP, though. I don't believe it's a threat drop. Should be continued threat tables. You just want to have Consecrate Holy Shield as soon as you can, and then just... it's the same thing as phase 1, except in phase 5... with the nerfed version, which this footage is not the nerfed version, he'll enrage deeper in the phase, and if you have a good trap, you can drag him into the trap to get rid of the enrage and force a demon phase. But you're about to see the enrage immediately. There it is. That will no longer happen on live. That is not a thing anymore. It has been nerfed or bug fixed, whatever you'd like to say. So you save your stopwatch for the enrage. You make sure you have Ironshield up there. See, I'm spamming Ironshield on cooldown, and then you Nightmare Seed. And you have decent health pool. Here, I whiffed in this. I requested to get the Holy Paladin for Devotion Aura, and the person I told him to switch me with was my Affliction Lock that was giving me the Imp buff. So my health pool kind of goes down here for this Enrage, which isn't ideal. And we get a good trap here, so I'm slowly just bringing him over. And that's pretty much the fights, phase 1 through phase 5. And now I'll be going into just a live real-time kill where I can go over things. I get parasites here, so I'm aware of that. I'm moving out. Next thing you'll see is a week 2 live kill that has the right enrage mechanics and whatnot. Okay. Thank you for making this far into the video. Now I'm going to be going over the real-time kill from week 2. Just to describe my thought process, what's going on. So you can see right now, the still frame, we have 15 seconds until Illidan goes active, or maybe it's closer to 13, as my bigwigs timer is a bit off. So what I like to do with a few seconds left is I consecrate into Holy Shield to get my rotation ideal. You don't want a Holy Shield and then consecrate on the opener, because that will have the consecration and Holy Shield cooldowns synced, essentially. Which is bad because you're going to be a GCD behind on using either one of them, basically. It is going to happen. It happens to me. I don't know that it's completely avoidable, just because your biggest priority as a prop pal in this fight, the reason that you're brought, the reason that you're tanking this, is to not get sheared. And as a player, I play very safe on this fight. I Holy Shield when I could probably consecrate. That being said, if a shear just goes off on you, if it's just been cast and both are off cooldown, you want to open with a consecrate and then go into the Holy Shield just so the cooldown is correct. But the opener, playing the clip, my opener I like to do is I apply Seal of the Righteous. with time left, and then I get ready to going to consecrate. There's my consecrate, then my holy shield, and now I'm spamming wings, spamming tilde, and I get my first judgment off, and now I have a 9k, 13k threat lead. So that's how you want to open. As I previously talked about, I pop my dodge trinket, Morose Lucky Pocket Watch, to ease things for the healers. I get a few dodges there, I dodge the shear. And now here, a shear just happened, it can happen again, so I'm... the other problem I think is improved judgment with these lineups. There's a flame crash, I just sidestep. I didn't need the holy shield there because the shear had already happened. There's draw soul, so I'm having him face the way. And things are just going smooth now. Another holy shield. I didn't have anything else to press. Into consecrate, and then we're going to be exorcisming. And this is what phase 1 will look like. This is what phase 3 will look like, and what phase 5 will look like. Parasitic Shadow Fiend goes out. It's not in melee. It's not on me. I don't need to worry about it. Another flame crash. I'm going to sidestep there. I'll post the weak aura that I used for that someone made in the comment. Or actually, they had it for Shear, and I adapted it. Another draw soul. Notice nothing goes wrong because he's facing away from the raid. And we're going into phase 2. I have 34 seconds there on my iron shield. I don't need to pop another iron shield in phase 2, but I will be popping another one in phase 3. And I think I mess up on this kill, and I don't have an iron shield active during the enrage, which is pretty scuffed. You don't want to do that. And like I think I previously mentioned, as a prop pally here, you just go Mambo or Mongo DPS. If you have you can sustain the mana if you have a Shadow Priest. I don't have any issue doing this, so I'm just doing my DPS rotation. You want to make sure that you're looking at your threat meter. You don't want to rip off your tank. He's wearing scuffed fire resistance, so don't rip off of him. My pocket watch is back up, and I'm going to be saving it for the enrage in phase 5 now. I don't think I use it again the duration of the fight. First flame is down, and we get a really good RNG I-beam on the other side, so melee is safe to go in on this. Sometimes you'll be cut off, and you can just help heal if you're unable to stand over here. We initially struggled with this phase with the flame tanks, but we've gotten it down pretty consistent here. And this is a one-shot, a week 2 one-shot, which is pretty nice, because we had quite a bit of wipes in week 1. Learning this phase and learning some other mechanics. So I'm getting ready here for phase 3. It is a threat wipe, so you just need to be ready. You can see your wings is back up. If you use wings on the pole, which you should, it will be back up for this, most likely. He's going to get his glaives and he's going to come down. I preemptively consecrate, pop wings into exorcism, and I take a while to put up holy shield, but it doesn't matter because Shear wasn't being cast. And again, as I've talked about, if your guild does phase 4, if your guild does the demon phase, you need to bring it back further than where he is right here for the positioning of phase 4. But since that's not a concern for my guild, we skip the demon phase. I don't do that. He's just brought right here. Maintain holy shield, and then it's just your standard rotation. There's a flame crash. I'm late. Kind of slow to reacting to it. Ideally, I don't have the boss the way he is right now. The pets are dying. But that's, just something I can see from rewatching this is a mistake I made. The treants burn alive and the pets burn alive. I could have adjusted them to prevent that from happening. That's something to watch out for. There, you can notice I did not. Let's see here. So here, I have the ability to do a few things. Big damn, guys. Big damn. And I make sure to reapply Holy Shield, which is the right move. If I didn't reapply Holy Shield right there, if I consecrated, I would have been GCD locked, most likely gotten sheared. I knew that shear hadn't happened in a while, and then I needed to prioritize Holy Shield. Which is just an example of what you need to do. As a prop pally, the biggest thing on this fight is free for you as long as you just maintain Holy Shield. You have to be responsible with Holy Shield usage. Otherwise, you can get sheared, and it's basically a wipe.
In the future, you need to be more towards my side.
Keep me up. Keep me up. This is a one shot. Keep me alive. Here we have the intermission.
Keep her alive.
Just a little bit of RP. And here we're looking. The trap will be up by the time the enrage comes out. So if you get a good trap, you bring him to it. Otherwise, you just stand there and eat you pop your nightmare seed, you make sure your iron shield's up, and you eat the enrage. I haven't noticed many bulwark procs on this fight so far.
2 minutes. Our first batch of 2 minutes.
Saving pocket watch for the enrage.
Outer's got the parasites.
Parasites go out in phase 5. Another flame crash. I'm just going to stand over here.
3 seconds.
Where's Maiev? Facing him away from the raid.
Switch.
These casters might be on the most ideal location.
Alright. Trap is...
Based on where I'm taking him, I could bring him back a little further.
I think getting nowhere, to be honest.
Raid leader calls a bad trap, so I don't go for the trap, and here's the first enrage. So the trap was active. The trap was active by the time enrage was cast, which is the big difference between week 1 and now. On live, the enrage mechanic is basically a joke. It goes active and he has 9% health, so even if I were to die, get one shot here, get clapped, they would most likely be able to kill the boss with him just ping-ponging around. I pop my dodge. I don't have an iron shield on right now. It's just a scuffed mistake of something I didn't notice. But you would want to have that on. I did pop my nightmare seed. We're just going big damage right here. And now he's going to turn into a demon. So if he turns into a demon, and it's not really going to matter here because he's dead, but say you miss your DPS check and he turns into a demon, as a pally, you can kind of tank one demon, one shadow bolt or so, and I'll show you kind of how that can happen here. On a potential kill, we missed the timer just by a little bit, a few seconds, and he turned into a demon and did one shadow bolt, and then he went into phase 5. And I died because I didn't do what I'm about to do here. But had I done that, it most likely would have been our first kill in week 1.
Move.
So this is what the demon looks like. And then I'm running over here. I have aggro. He's shadow blasting me, and I bubble at the last second, eat the shadow bolt. Nothing bad happens.
Good job, guys.
Just sitting here and bubble.
Wow.
So that's something you can do if you miss the timer and he gets one shadow bolt off and you have aggro. You can tank it like that. But ideally you just have the DPS and you full send and you skip that phase altogether. So that's been the live walkthrough of the fight from my perspective. Hopefully this video helped you and guided you. If you needed some assistance with killing this boss, if you saw some mistakes from me or tips or whatever, feel free to leave them in the comments to help other people on this fight. And then we'll skip to see what dropped here. We got a nice Crystal Spire the Caribor, tier tokens, and then a Black Bow the Betrayer. So again, thank you for watching. I hope this helped you out, and I hope to see you all soon.